Recently, I was having a conversation with an executive leader, and during that conversation, he asked me, what do you think the job of a leader is? I said, I think the job of a leader has three parts. The first part of a leader's job is to draw the circle. That means you can identify, why does your organization, your team exist? If I can draw the circle and say, this is what we're about, this is what we do, this is what we're focused on, and all the things outside the circle are the things we don't do, based on the vision that you have as a leader, people can start to understand, here's what we're doing and here's where we're going. You, as a leader, are required to draw the circle. In drawing the circle, that means you need to define what are the things inside the circle, what are the goals and objectives necessary for our company, for our organization, for our team, for this project to succeed. That also usually means you have to draw smaller circles for each individual person to see the circle of influence they have and the part that they're going to play in fulfilling this larger goal, this larger mission, this larger objective that your entire organization is after. When you do that, you're going to need to communicate clearly what are the objectives and outcomes that are supposed to happen, not only in the bigger circle, but in each person's circle individually or as teams. And that presents the first challenge of leadership. That often as leaders, we communicate something and we say, okay, I drew the circle and I can tell you what the circle is. But realistically, one time, this is the circle, isn't going to cut it. You're going to have to continue to draw the circle, to continue to clarify what's inside and outside of whatever team or organization you're working on. What is it they're supposed to be doing and what are they not supposed to be doing? That's not a one-time thing. This is the leadership challenge of clarity. The second part of a leader's job is that you're going to have to empower people within their circle. So you've drawn a circle and said, these are the outcomes and objectives I expect. You're going to now have to provide them the resources they need to accomplish those things. Resources like could be space, they could be technology, they could be budget dollars, but you're going to have to provide them what they need to get that done. On top of that, you're actually also going to have to provide them with the freedom and the agency, the capacity to make choices inside that circle to accomplish those objectives. You have to let them figure out inside this space, how do we get this done? You're also going to have to encourage them in that space. Because as you define the circle and said, this is what we're working on, you're going to have to encourage them because there's moments where they're going to get discouraged. They're going to get confused. They may not know what to do. Encourage them in the circle that you've drawn for them. Which brings us to the next leadership challenge. And that is that we as leaders, when we see someone struggling, when we see someone inside that circle and trying to figure something out, we often tend to try and jump in and help. The leadership challenge is that we can't always interfere. Unless we absolutely need to, we need to give them the space and time to figure this out on their own. Because this leadership challenge is about trust. We need to trust that we hired really smart people, experts at what they're doing. We drew a really good circle. We gave them the resources they need with clear objectives. We need to let them figure this out. And they can come to us when they need help, and we can encourage and clarify for them again. But these people need to solve that problem. The third part of a leader's job is that because we've done that, we actually have to hold people accountable for their circle. What does that look like? Well, I think it looks like a couple of different things. First of all, we need to reward innovations and improvements, successes. And I want to be clear here. When I say the word improvements, I don't mean perfection. I mean that they're moving toward the end goal, moving toward the objectives. We need to reward those moments as much as we possibly can. We also need to, in that space, encourage people to make, acknowledge, and learn from mistakes. See, most people don't actually learn from successes. They learn from mistakes. They learn when they try something, it doesn't work. When we succeed, sometimes we don't even know why we succeeded. It just worked. Could you do it again? I'm not sure. But mistakes we can learn from. In fact, I've come to the point where I honestly say that I think there are successes and there are learnings. There are no mistakes because mistakes are just an opportunity to learn. It also means, though, that you're going to have to discourage them blaming other people. Well, there was so many things that I couldn't control. Then we needed to deal with those and clarify those and get those clear about your outcomes and your resources and all of those things so that you can. I'm drawing the circle so that you can manage this and have agency and freedom to make those choices. I want you to take responsibility for them. And I also want you to acknowledge when you make mistakes. Because when people make mistakes and they don't think they've made a mistake, they will keep doing them. So encourage them to make mistakes, but ask them to acknowledge, hey, this didn't work. What do we learn from this and how do we get better? Discourage the moments when people say, well, there were no mistakes. We did everything perfect. We just don't know what happened. Okay, then we need to learn something. So what were the mistakes? What were the things inside of our sphere of control that we could do something about? And there may be some things that they can't, but discourage that. Help them to figure out how to regain agency so that they can make choices that lead to success. The challenge in this particular one, though, is that you're going to have to recognize that we need to provide fair and honest feedback to everyone. This is the leadership challenge of respect. Because if we provide fair and honest feedback to some people and help them grow because we like them or because we think their future, whatever we're going to do, and don't provide it to other people, we'll think we're playing favorites. Or if we're overly critical and harsh to a group of people, they'll get discouraged, and that starts becoming contagious. We need to provide fair and honest feedback to everyone and show them the respect that they deserve as people who are committed to fulfilling the vision that's within that circle. Which means as a leader, we need to draw that circle on a regular basis to make sure that we've overcome the challenge of clarity. We need to empower people and encourage people within that circle so that we can show them that we trust them to use their freedom and agency to achieve the outcomes and objectives we set for them. And we need to make sure that we hold them accountable, showing them the respect that they deserve as people who can make choices that lead to success or learning in a way that's consistent for all the people we're working with. When we do this as leaders, we not only wind up more often achieving our outcomes and objectives, but we wind up with employees who are growing and flourishing in ways that we never thought possible.